a fresh rhyme for you.
Okay. Hey,
Yo,
that's perfect.
yo, yo, up off the street, up off the beat, man. Let me show you what it do. Hey, that was the worst rap of all time. Woo!
Hey, but it's all right because that's how you start a show. That's all. Hey, we
Start the show.
that's how you start a show. Man,
I like it.
okay. I figured this out, man. Thank you for being patient with me. And
I got time.
hey, man.
I cleared out my schedule this week because there were so many calls that I had on my schedule, and there were a lot of just from traveling for work and had COVID in the midst of that, and just behind on a lot of. It didn't hit me very bad at all, so I was fortunate, but just behind on a lot of small things. And so I said, I'm going on vacation next week. I don't have time for a bunch of calls. I just have to block stuff out. I got a couple things with my team. That's it. And I'm able to get so much work done. And I'm like, I know I'm the salesperson and I got to make sales calls, but I'm reconsidering my whole schedule now because I'm actually getting stuff done. There's all these like adjusting onboarding for clients, adjusting onboarding for our team, all this stuff that really has to come from me. I don't have to make it look pretty, but it has to, the source is me. And so nobody else can do anything until I get down to it.
Hey, it starts
Anyway,
with the
I've been
play.
productive.
And that's, hey, man, it's been a productive year, man. I mean, this year has been, it's been wild, man. It's been a wild and crazy ride. I know for you too. Same here. Onboarding, software development, new strategies, trying to get, what do you call it, Web.3 together.
Okay, so I have a friend who's into Web3, and I was like, man, I'm not dealing with any of that. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just gonna stick to my Web2. And I heard a woman talk about it at a show. I like probably 6 months ago. My brother-in-law was talking about investing in different cryptocurrencies, and so I said, okay, I'll get on Coinbase and I'll invest a little bit. I think I invested like $80, and it quickly went to 40. I was like, screw this.
Right.
I'm gonna delete that app. And I eventually came back to it when I heard a woman named Janelle Page, really great marketer, Amazon marketer, just started talking about it. And I had a buddy named Brett who is also in the Amazon space. He was into it, talking about NFTs, and I'm like, I may not be an influencer on TikTok, and that might be above where my time can go right now. But if I can just learn a little bit more about Web3, why is it called Web3? And then I realized there was Web 1, there was Web 2, now we're in the Web 3 phase. That was a genius for me. And I said, okay, I'm just going to start investing small amounts, maybe $10 here, $10 here, read up on things, see what I can do. And so I've been more in it. I might spend, maybe 10, 15 minutes a day, but I'm not trying to, in my head, I'm not trying to have it all figured out right now.
Oh man. That's a jewel there.
Space
yeah. And grace, right? Because, it takes time. And no, we're going to start off with our first bar there. I mean, we have to, we have to still learn, and that's what it's still about. I mean, we know a lot. We've obviously been in our, in our fields for a long time. And, I think I heard someone mention, becoming your parents, right? Kind of being jaded in certain respects to certain technologies, pathways. And I've been studying that a lot, man, with just people in general, kind of doing a lot of reading. It is fascinating, right? Just kind of, we are as, people, man. It is super
interesting.
Human
beings, man, we're all very, very, very similar. I say this all the time, and I honestly don't know. I know a group of people will agree with me and will know exactly what I'm talking about. You're one of those people, and it's not a male thing. It's not a skin color thing. It's a belief system thing, and it's that we're the world is hurting. There's a lot of hurt going on in the world. I've felt that for a while, but someone like Putin, is a great example. Anybody could be that person. You get enough power, you get enough money, you get enough, of people filling your head with yes men and women. You're great. You're doing awesome, man. You're crushing it. Lack of honesty. And anybody has that dark side. Anybody could be someone that's willing to rob someone, and then because I got to take care of myself, or I got to take care of my family, or whatever the case might be, And then maybe take it one step further where I'm going to do an armed robbery. Oh man, shoot, I ended up shooting someone. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I'm just saying everybody is capable of those terrible things. And as soon as you reconcile with that, the fact that you're capable of doing that stuff too, that's when I think you as a person, that's when you really start to evolve, and you're what you're talking about. Man, I'm noticing this thing in people. I'm noticing this tendency in humans.
And it's all history related or a byproduct of, or lack of, certain access to information. It's like if you wanted to create a recipe for somebody, for that kind of scenario, it is one. It's literally, grow up in a certain environment. What do they call nature versus nurture? And you have a certain, you grow up in a certain era, right? I was talking to some people who grew up in a recession versus people who kind of saw the 2008 version of it, right? It's different perspectives, just and how you relate and how and ultimately the decisions that you make later, right, are kind of all byproduct of something, right? And I think
as an adult, I've had to unlearn more things. That's part of the learning process, is saying, okay, how I view this has some level of truth to it, but there's also this other perspective that I need to understand, because if I want to see the world and see other humans in reality, I have to take into account the facts. I have to take into account, depending on how close of a relationship I want to have with someone, I have to take into account someone else's perspective, someone else's feelings. I'm not a big believer that feelings should dictate our actions or even our beliefs. I think sometimes they're an indicator of something. Sometimes it can be something positive. Sometimes it can be an indicator of the fact that, I need a little bit more work in this area. Pride is my go-to. So, I start getting defensive. My wife calls me on it. Why are you being defensive? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a good reason. I'm sorry.
Right. Like a trigger, totally right? Like, like it kind of triggers something, and you're like, I got to get this off, man.
but it's because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be, quote unquote, in trouble. I guess that's kind of how my juvenile years were. I was, very rebellious and just didn't want people telling me what to do, and I, in a way, still don't. But I think I've come to terms with that for the most part. But I just, there's something in me that automatically goes to, no, I'm not wrong, man. I'm the best. I know everything. And and again, that's my natural tendency. I don't think most people who know me would necessarily say, man, you're such a prideful person. But that's my go-to. That's my tendency. So that ties back to humanity. Like, everyone's got their hangups, and some are more deadly than others. But everybody's got these flaws, and I've admittedly had to I think unlearn some of those things. Listening, I need to be better at that. You go, I'll listen.
Yeah, no, I mean, just like you said, unlearning and kind of reprogram yourself. Taking in new data helped me probably early on, right? Just the ability to say, okay, let me just take in some new data, just because I was a, big person on, you can take the good from a lot of scenarios, right? You can throw away the rest, right? And once I was kind of able to learn that, because in a lot of respects, some of your first mentors, leaders, may not necessarily have the best position in life perspective wise, right? But they have some general knowledge, right? So it's like, okay, you can pull a little bit from here, pull a little bit from there, throw away the rest, right? But that helped early on. How do
you know what to keep, and how do you know what to throw away?
Now that became, I think that had to be something you had to gain from, I hope your people, right? Hopefully your internal family, right? Hopefully you kind of grew up in a good environment in the sense that you had support. Yeah, and maybe you didn't, right? But I think all those things play a part, right? Because I think I learned a lot from of other people's mistakes, which was early. So you can learn from mistakes too. You can see patterns, you can learn patterns, right? And it was all pattern recognition early on. And then of course you add that with experience. Now you have perspective, and gets really interesting at that point.
There were a lot of things that I knew were maybe bad news, but I was like, I'm going to take the risk. I'll
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. I'll figure it out on my own. And I got hurt. I got wounded. I saw negative consequences, and that I needed to touch the stove when it was hot to get a little burn to realize, okay, like my curiosity would never have let up had I not touched it a little bit. Now,
Right, just at least
I didn't get
attempt
mauled. I didn't get mauled,
right, and that's the
but I
most
got bit a
important
little
part,
burn.
right? And I think that was I was talking to someone else about something similar, like social media, right? To have the ability to kind of grow up without it before you had to,
Oh man,
that was an era that
that is a gem, man. To not everything in my mind when I think about my daughter who's 9, and it comes to connectivity. It's like, how long can I keep her removed from social media, because it's helped. The internet's helped a lot of people do a lot of things,
tremendous,
but it's
right?
also
Like, oh my gosh, so many things.
incredible.
Like I
Level
mean,
the
this
playing
relationship,
field.
right? Like I don't know
Yeah,
when
we
I
started out on the internet.
right, but
Right, we were internet dating before we became official.
right,
official
you know,
official.
but it is. I mean, so yeah, fantastic
It's got a
tools.
dark side. It's got
Mm-hmm.
a dark side, and I'm not even talking about the go outside and play and the screen time. I'm just talking about seeing. We see it at school or the places we work. We spend the most amount of time. People put on a show. I sometimes put on a show,
And I
and we
think we
see
have to
that.
put on a show sometimes, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want to be perceived the way we want to be perceived, even though we don't know what that is, right? You got to do a lot of
If I'm
probing for that.
hurrying on some stuff at home, if I don't keep it together at work, I'm not saying hide it, but I don't need to be bawling all the time. And if I really can't keep it together for work, then I need to excuse myself, because I start to become a distraction to other people. You need to handle your business. You need to, if you've got some mental health stuff, you need to go take care of that. You can't continue to push that down, but you have to have some kind of semblance that in a work environment or school environment, because it ends up being very distracting to other people. And so, your actions are not, and your feelings are not just your own. You impact other people. That
That's true.
but being able to grow up without social media and just know people and like get in verbal arguments with people,
Right? Or just
and
figure
be able to
yourself out. I mean,
going to someone's home and seeing what their home life is like, not what they post on social media, all the
hmm
close up selfies with the duck lips and everything looks good. You don't realize, oh man, this girl's dad is really aggressive. Like, that's something's up there. And we don't see things for the reality that they are. We see people's show that they're putting on 24/7, and that just makes us feel more depressed. And the
hmm
reality of the situation is they're depressed too. They're feeling the same thing you are.
everybody's putting on, right? Just right, or at least that's the way you may perceive it to be, right? And
Sure.
who knows, and who cares, right? In some instances, but you have to protect yourself, I think, and I think that's probably learning yourself and kind of your DNA and what, because I won't say work life balance, but having whatever balance is considered to one person is probably another person's chaos, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right? But find what's right kind of for you. And I know you kind of create those patterns, those mantras, and it's funny because as much as we're talking about just people, it still feels like a very entrepreneurial, right? And I know that's kind of what we're here to talk about a little bit too, but it's just, I think every entrepreneur kind of goes through that, and I think everyone goes through that in general, but I feel like an entrepreneur probably has to play that game with themselves or have to figure that stuff out because you have such isolation, especially early on, and depending on what you're doing.
Isolation and freedom. So those two things in
hmm
combination mean you have to know, okay, I still see a paycheck that comes into my account, or I don't. So with all the time that I have on my hands and the freedom I have to basically do whatever I want, within what's considered legal,
right.
I have I have the opportunity to do whatever I want. How am I going to use that time? And that is something that that makes or breaks entrepreneurs. And I was very eager earlier on as an entrepreneur to just work because I knew there was something that was dependent upon me. And that was I had a good work ethic, but also a bad work ethic because I didn't know when to stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think life will do that to you, right? Having a family, having having other
Yeah,
you kind of are forced to, and I know sometimes you kind of, your first love, maybe if it's your company, right? You're like, okay, I'll get back to you, but I got to go and do this too.
yeah.
So
Well, it's very. I would say it's very different. I don't know. I believe you also got married younger, like I did in your 20s. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
no, no, no. I definitely, I enjoyed my youth a lot. I didn't get married until later, yeah, for
okay,
sure.
so I got married at 22, and I had no clue. I barely. It was just about to get out of college, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I now had this other person that I had to take into consideration. So there was no, building on my own solo. There was always someone else there, which was great because there was a
Mm,
support system, but also decisions I made affected my wife, and I had to make sure I was making good decisions because if I didn't, it wasn't just me being disappointed at myself at the end of the day. It
yeah.
means, hey, maybe some bill doesn't get paid because I don't do something, or something. There was another level of consideration.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
you have. Oh yeah, because you can live off ramen, maybe, right?
right.
Sandwiches, but yeah, when you have a family to protect, yeah, that it changes the entire landscape, and I think that's where I think that's when you get better too.
Changes your risk tolerance.
Hmm.
What am I willing to risk? And also, it's pushed me because anytime I've wanted to transition into something new, building something of my own as an entrepreneur, I had to work a full-time job while I was doing it because we had bills to pay. We had us, I don't think we weren't living a crazy lifestyle,
Hmm.
but we needed money for gas. We needed money to pay for the mortgage, money for groceries. And, we wanted to travel. There are things we wanted to do. So, there was no, all right, well, I'm going to take 6 months and figure this out. It was like, hey, get started as soon as possible and see what you can do in the next year, and figure it out while you're doing something full time. And that's how I built anything that I built. I mean, I've built with God's help, but
Yeah.
has been doing something while I'm doing something full time.
Let's stay right there for just a moment, man, because in my community, or within Credit Hub's community, right, we have a lot of business owners that are uh, transitioning, right? They're in their position where they're plotting their leave, right? And you have others that have already leaped, right? And you love them too, right? Because they're going to succeed or at least die trying, right? And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
and that's the kind of jockey you like to bet on, right? Because but I do love the idea of the plan, right? Creating an exit strategy, and I don't know if a lot of business owners, um, or more importantly, I guess I'll say it differently. I know a lot of business owners today will probably talk to their past selves and say, "Hey, what about this exit plan? we
Well,
could
like,
have done
yeah,
we could
most
have
people
done
don't
it
get
better,
in.
right? It's great
Most
that
people
we're
don't
here."
get into business to exit, but if you think about it like that, in order to exit, what do you have to do? You have to have something worth selling. So you gotta build it up, and you gotta think, how can I make this business something that someone will want to buy? So it has to generate revenue, and it has to be profitable. And if you can think about those two things, the end goal in mind, like you said, yeah, I definitely would have gone back and said, here's what you should focus on. Focus on how to spend as little as possible while growing the business, and keep it profitable, but invest back into the business.
Hmm.
That I never I you know I love what I do, but if someone offered me enough money, would I exit? Hell yeah, I'd exit, especially if it meant that my people were taken care of and I was taken care of, and it changed life for my family. But what would I do as soon as I exited? I get after it again. I get to have
Exactly. You be doing right.
more
You find
capital.
you find a brand new thing. So that's kind of what I want to talk about, man, today. Just I want to do a recap because we talked before. I just if I were to recap, the beginning to scale stages of an Amazon, right?
Yeah,
A business, right? And then I like to talk to you a lot about um you, because you've already kind of given me a little bit more, but I want to hone in on that, but I may jump around a little bit too. So
yeah.
um
Feel free, man.
But I wanted to, just if we were to kind of outline it, right, just so we can at least recap, because what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is a passive income, but that's not really passive, or it can be, right? Depends on how you look at it, and there's so many different ways to slice it. With Amazon, right, as a business model, as an FBA model, right, they essentially created their own economy, and within that economy there's so many different sectors that someone could probably even entertain and make money through. And I want you to talk about your perspective from Cartology, which is award winning, top of the line agency in itself,
Oh,
right?
wow. I like that.
Right.
You need to record that. Hey, you've reached Michael Marr's voicemail of Cartology, award-winning agency. Please leave a message after the beep. And if you don't
See,
have an award on the other end of this, then don't even bother leaving a message. Beep.
and that's what I'm talking about, right? Because you've been doing this for years, and that's the point, right? I wanted to bring someone who had the experience, right? Who has the client base, who has the variety of clients, right? That can give my members perspective, right? Because they sell a little bit of everything, do a little bit of everything, and they're looking for passive income options. They're looking for absentee options in terms of how they can kind of allow their money to work for them. Given our current economy. So, tell
Yeah.
me, let's talk a little bit about the process, right? If someone wanted to, if you were to outline in your best words, what's that process from beginning to scale to to profitability, if you will.
Okay. So I'm going to keep it really general because I want people to understand the concepts and the details you can get into later, you can read about or whatever, or I can explain, later in detail. But at the core of everything, when it comes to a business, running on Amazon or a brand selling on Amazon, however you want to phrase it, starting an FBA business, whatever the case might be, there's definitely a misnomer about it being passive income. However, my agency helps make it more passive for people. Now that they require more capital to make that happen so that they don't have to lift a finger, but they're investing in us and investing in their product that they have. So I mean, Amazon is a product focused marketplace. So you can buy something and then resell it on Amazon. That's the most basic way you could go about doing something. People call that arbitrage, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage. Basically just means you're buying something, maybe you're getting it on sale and you're going and selling it on Amazon. Might make a couple $100, feels good. And you get to learn the platform that way. And I'd say for anyone who is curious about how Amazon works, go yourself, not go yourself, but go and look for discounted items. And you can download Amazon's an app from Amazon that will scan this product and tell you what it's selling for. Now you might not be able to sell that product because it's gated by the brand, but try and find something that's cheaper that you could actually turn a profit on, and go walk through that process. That's the most basic way to understand what selling on Amazon is like. It's the tip of the iceberg, but it gets you a basic understanding of that. The next level up from that is saying, oh man, I've seen this product, I've seen this cell phone charger, and I think I could, I'm going to look at trying to buy something like that in bulk. And by the way, don't go buy cell phone chargers in bulk and try and sell on Amazon if you're starting from scratch. It's the worst idea you could pick. It's just so competitive. And not that I, don't think anyone could come up with something creative, but it's super competitive. And, try and buy something in bulk and create a brand name. That doesn't mean creating a brand, but create a brand name. Like, let's say I had a sound, I wanted to, sell Bluetooth speakers. I go look from some supplier website in China, like Alibaba. A lot of people might go there and look up Bluetooth speaker, and they're going to say, hey, man, my brand name is called Hardline. And, here's the logo, and I want you to print it on these speakers. And then, you figure out how to get them fulfilled by Amazon. You figure out how to sell them to consumers for a profit. That's the next level, because now you control supply as opposed to going to a store that just has a bunch of closeout items and you're dependent upon what they have in closeout. And you're getting more hands-on because you're dealing with supply. You're dealing with the importation of goods. You're dealing with, logistics of working through Amazon instead of just shipping it on your own, like you would do potentially in an arbitrage situation.
Gotcha.
Also, you get 100 of something that's $2 and it sells for 20. Then you can figure out how to ship it into Amazon. But the next level up from that, that's really called private label branding. You take a product that's already kind of being mass produced, and you say, hey, maybe I can adjust this a little bit, or I'll create a brand. I'll identify this product, and I'll make it look better than someone else. It's the same exact product. It's very removed those from actual supply chain. So that means costs are going to be a lot higher.
A lot higher.
And
yeah,
and the last, I would say, type of seller on Amazon is a brand who, think about a lot of the new food companies, people who are, creating high protein, low sugar items like puffs or cereal or protein bars or whatever the case might be. And they're starting off with maybe a recipe of their own and in their home kitchen. And then they're finding a way to make bigger batches of it, keep it shelf stable, get packaging, actually have design for brand, have a story for the brand. Why did you start the brand? Some people started it because their mom got cancer and they realized that a lot of processed foods and sugar can potentially cause cancer to metastasize faster. And so you want to eat a lot healthier. And that's your story. Maybe it's just, man, I love a cereal, and Honey Nut Cheerios has a lot of sugar in it. So I want to create something that's not that. That's building a brand. And there's a lot more that's involved with that. But it's arguably, I would say, even unequivocally, the best way long-term to win on Amazon, because you're not just building up product. Again, the product control changes. You start with what's available, then with being a reseller, then you look at, hey, how do I buy product in bulk and then sell it? That's a private label. And then, man, how do I create something that there's an actual need for in the marketplace?
Right. And you have the data right there to show you, right? You're still using the same data that you would use to arbitrage, right? Or private label. Yep, that you would use to find the white space, if you will, for which you could actually create yourself.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of third-party tools that you can use to survey the Amazon landscape. Just know that, they have some kind of tool that's scraping the page, scraping data off the page. And based on what that data says, they're giving you a number, like how many times are people searching the words hemp seeds on Amazon, or sunflower seeds is probably better. How many times a month are people searching sunflower seeds? What are the listings doing sales-wise? They're all estimates, but it gives you an idea of what is possible. And maybe you go and you realize there's really no good brands selling high-quality sunflower seeds. It's just the generic stuff you'd see at a gas station or a grocery store. And you think, I can do something better, and I can have better seasonings with this. And so I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna create my brand. Actually, a really great example, is a friend of both of ours, Stephen C. Beatty, award-winning Food Network chef. He has a seasoning called Pop Secret Seasoning by Stephen C. Beatty.
Nice.
And I've got some in my cupboard. I use the lemon pepper when I make tuna. Little tuna, a little mayonnaise, some high quality tuna, but then put that in some sriracha, and it's delicious. But he created this seasoning blend that it's got a bigger impact than, I mean, part of the brand is helping people who are in recovery from some kind of addiction, because that was something that was close to his heart with his dad. I believe being a recovering alcoholic.
Okay.
And so his dad did a lot to give back to help people, because you're in a situation where you're addicted to something. It's hard to get out. It's hard to break that cycle. You need people there that can support you, and you can't do it on your own. That's one of the things that, as an entrepreneur in isolation with a lot of time, you start to realize, I can't do this alone. I need help. And the sooner you get to that place of knowing you need help and asking for help, and then finding the right kind of help, and then even paying for help, you start to find your way. But Steven started his own seasoning line, and he just found places like Etsy, really easy way. Anyone can start a store. He can, make the seasonings himself. The next level would be, him going to what's called a co-packer, where someone is, making his ingredient mix for him. He's saying, here's a recipe, here's how this goes. And this co-packer probably knows how to do spices or seasonings, certain mixtures. He's saying, here's my artwork to print it off. And, he knows what their capabilities are. Now they're able to produce it in greater quantity so he can sell more. And that actually would help reduce his cost, because he's able to buy a lot more and make a lot more. So that when you start getting into a brand, that's where things really take off. And, people are on Amazon are a couple of quick facts for you. One is 54% of people, when they're just trying to find information about a product, so doing product research, they go directly to Amazon. Google's like 27%. So it's 2 times more likely that someone's going to go directly to Amazon to look for a product. That means they could be in a Walmart or Target if you're a big brand. They could be on your website and say, there's a lot of 4 and 5 star reviews on here. I wonder how much I trust that. Let's go to Amazon. Let's see what's there. And shoppers are making really quick purchasing decisions. Amazon's 2021 letter to shareholders stated that 28% of consumers on Amazon are making purchase from the time they get on the site till when they pay in 3 minutes or less. And 50% of people, so half of people, are doing it 15 minutes or less. So that means there's a big focus on product. There's not a lot of time for you to tell your brand story, but you still have to give it a good attempt, and you have to tell the story about why this, for Steven, why the seasoning is important. 1, it's delicious.
Right.
2, it's proprietary. It's his seasoning. Why should you believe him? Well, he's a really great chef. He makes high quality food. You can see it in the images, but then you also know, oh wow, he's won competitions on Food Network. Like he's got some credibility. He's got something there to trust. You have to find ways to layer that stuff in and give people incentive to buy a product, and then have an experience where when they open the box, what are they greeted with? What are they seeing? What does the packaging look like? What's that experience like? And are they encouraged to follow you on social media or go to your website and check out something there? Or are you making a connection and not just making a single purchase? And telling the brand story there. Hey, just so you know, a reminder, $1 of this goes to whatever NGO or whatever nonprofit organization that might be important to you. Or $1, like we hire people who have physical and mental disabilities, and we pay them a great wage, and they help us to make our product. There was a dog food or snack company that hired people with Down syndrome or other kind of developmental diseases that typically it might be more challenging for them to find work, but
but creating this story and being truthful. I mean, because that's phenomenal, right? And anybody can get behind that,
Yeah. So you have to give people a reason to to trust you, but you got to do it really quickly. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why, but in the long term, building a brand is something that people remember, and they might not remember hardline sounds like, oh man, what was the name of that speaker I got that burned out after a year? Oh, I don't remember. Oh, but Pop's Secret Seasoning, I remember that because that tasted good and had a catchy name. And I remember Stephen C. Beatty, real cool looking dude. He can, carve some graffiti out of some fruit like nobody's business. He's, so he's a really talented guy.
Right.
Uh,
And those are the things you pull, right? Those are the story. That's the
exactly.
Yeah. And you're right. That's a little more sticky in the market than I'm just arbitraging this product.
Right. And so
Clear difference.
Those are the levels of selling. Now there are people that are doing arbitrage and they're doing millions of dollars in sales. So it's possible to scale that. Again, dependent upon how proactive are you about going and finding what's available to be resold. There's a lot of factors there. And then I would say, sellers on the marketplace, there are people that are net new, that are brand new, and they have no idea what they're doing. They need help. There are people who have been selling on there for maybe a year. They're not seeing the results they want. They need help. Then there are people who are selling a lot, but they want to do a better job. They need help.
And that's where cartology comes into place. Exactly.
And that's exactly where cartology comes into place. And there's such a high demand that I can't even find great people fast enough that have experience to come join our team to help serve our clients at a really high level, because that's where our focus is at. We focus on brand, and we want the service to be really high quality. So if we mess something up and you say, hey, this didn't really meet my expectation. Well, number one, I apologize. That's not how we like to do things. Two, here's how we're going to fix this right now. And three, here's what we're going to do in the future. And hold us to that. We will be accountable to that, absolutely. And I believe people appreciate that level of authenticity and being able to say, we're humans, but we're going to help you with this. And I've never had anybody fire us because, there was an issue or there was an error. A lot of times there are just errors with Amazon and we have no control over it. And people might think it's us, but Amazon's really, we don't just throw up our hands and say, we can't do anything. But we do say, hey, you know what? At this point, we need to wait and see what Amazon says, because we don't have anything to go off of. So, but even those brands that are selling a lot and want to sell more and want to do better, they need help, because it's a beast, and there's so many levels to Amazon. If you try and go at it alone, you're not going to get the full potential. But you could come to the market and say, I have a brand new item and I'm going to, launch this. I've only got 500 of this product and I'm going to try selling it. But you could also be net new to Amazon and say, hey, I'm a big brand that's been selling, 5 million on our Shopify store. We're ready to invest on Amazon. You could go in big and hard, and the results will look a lot different, but you're still technically in the same phase. So not only are there different types of sellers, there's different phases. So brand new, been on there for a bit and not seeing the results, and growing but want to continue to grow and need help managing that growth. But then there are also people who really, what it comes down to is people who have capital to invest in their business and people who do not have capital to invest in their business. And
readily available, right? Because you need to be able to deploy that capital pretty quickly to try to keep up with whatever that demand is, right? Because you could lose footing even if you're winning if you can't fulfill, right?
Absolutely, because when your product is no longer in stock, it doesn't show up in search results on Amazon anymore. Unlike Google, you could still see someone's product page unless you manually take it down off your website. It goes out of the search algorithm that Amazon uses, and it sounds like a tricky word, but in reality, an algorithm is a sequence of decisions that a machine's making really quickly, saying, why should I put something in this position? Well, it has this, boom. And it's doing that for every single spot. And whoever's writing the algorithm knows, what what's the most important thing, but your item drops out of search. And one of the things that Amazon's search algorithm needs to show your product organically. So there's this concept of organic versus paid placement. Paid is pretty simple. It's advertising. Organic is you've earned this spot in search results because of X, because you've sold so much, because you have a good price, whatever the case might be. It's product's rated well. But sales
reviews.
Sales history is a big part of it. And as soon as your product stops being sold, if you're in a competitive category, like we had a client who was in the deodorant space and their item got suppressed because of a customer complaint. It was only down for a week, but I mean, they easily.
I was about to say a lot happens in a week, right?
in sales,
right?
And they were like 14 in the top 100 for deodorant, and they dropped off the map when we got back on. And so it took us a lot of effort to get back to where they were. So that's one of the differences about Amazon is you just totally drop out. And the advantage of that is you're not advertising on something that's not available, but you're also not making sales. And so people want growth. Growth is really sexy. I want to grow, hyper growth, 10x, everything like Grant Cardone. Or I even I'm kind of regret even saying his name because I'm not into those kind of false hope people that 10x your life, 10x this, because it's more than just your actions. There's a bit of circumstantial that's in there. There's how much effort you're willing to put into something. Sometimes it's you get lucky and maybe God has a reason to utilize that luck in some way to teach you a lesson. Maybe he's just giving you a blessing and you don't know why, and that's okay. But overall, the 10x kind of growth that people want, you first have to have enough product to sell. That's money. That's
upfront. You have to have it upfront. Yeah.
Before you even sell your first item, and you can make a smaller batch. It's probably going to cost more of something, but so
less margin.
In order to get it seen, you have to have money for advertising. Again, it has to be liquid. You don't want to turn off advertising. You want to keep that running. But getting growth is not a problem, hands down.
I mean, you're walking into a situation where you get millions of views, right? So
we can get you growth, but at what cost, and two, when will you get to profitability? And so it's what people don't realize is, hey, we've got the inventory, we've got the money to pay you, we've got the money for advertising, we're ready to go. 4 weeks goes by. Well, we sold a lot more than we expected. Well, now you need to order 4 times what you had before.
Absolutely.
We don't have the capital to do that because we don't have profit to do that, and that was all of our investment. That's a problem.
And you're going to pay for it because you don't have it, and you're going to pay for it. Oh my gosh, you're going to pay for it, and you're going to pay for it because if you lose that placement, you're not going to pop back up where you were before.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of costs to be considered, and we work with all different kinds of people. We work with people that are bootstrapped. We work with people who are getting access to capital, a loan or a line of credit, whatever the case might be. Honestly, with CreditHub, we've done that as an agency to help sell, someone to sell someone's product who they have a great product, they don't have the money to invest. And we said, well, we would take this client on anyway. We just need to have capital to put into this, but we know it's going to be something that turns out in our favor. So yeah, we're
and I thought that was brilliant, right? Because you knew the concept would work, you knew the product, you had the price points. So walk me through that too, because you were kind of aligned to be able. You were in the best position to be able to do that, not just from from the company, but just some of the steps that you're taking. You have your own lease space, right? That you even are able to house product. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, anything that we don't directly do, we find partners for. So we have a partner that we can, store goods at. It costs money to do it, but instead of having to own a building, we basically are renting space, in this building. And so we had all the resources that we would normally plug a brand owner or an entrepreneur into. In this case, we just said, look, we're going to be the ones that come in and invest in the brand. And it also provides an opportunity where if we're investing money in the brand, we might not see profitability right away, but we're going to ask for a percent of equity in the company because we believe in the company. We would have, let me put it this way. I wouldn't sign someone if I didn't think we could help their brand. And so if we would sign this person and let them pay us, because I'm not going to have someone pay us for 6 months, and things go the way they're supposed to, and it just doesn't work out. We've had people who have had problems with their account getting unblocked, and it's been really difficult. And their experience has been soured based on that. But there's only so much that we can do about that, and so that's frustrating for me because they didn't see the results that I know we could get them. And then sometimes we even say, hey, look, you spent several months trying to get your account open. We're not going to bill you for such and such. Let's just get going. But people are soured and they don't want to tap into it. But I wouldn't take you on if I didn't think we could help you. And so why would I not just go the extra step if it's something I'm willing to explore and invest in the brand myself as a company? We've got the knowledge. We just need the capital. So we align on those two things, and we hit the ground running. We've got more control. We know what needs to work. We know what needs to be there in order for this to work. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. I stepped away from selling product in 2016 and transitioned to the service side. It's a totally different story, but I never thought I would get back into selling. But the way that the market, and when I say market, I mean just the potential for brands on Amazon to succeed. And if I know how to do that, then it's really about having access to that capital, which CreditHub did do for us, and that was awesome, and really on our own terms. We didn't have to say, okay, it's this one or this one. It was like, this is what we need. We're not going to do it unless we can get this thing, and we were able to to secure that, which is great, which is a huge help.
Absolutely, and it was our pleasure too.
And you were great. I mean, you were super helpful, but I'm confident that it's going to work out. But we're also going to ask for, like I said, a percent of equity. We're going to ask for, hey, we're investing in this. We want to be kind of a part owner. I don't want to tell you necessarily what product you should create or the ethics of the product or what you want to support. I just believe in the product, and I know that we can help it to grow. And so I want to be an owner in that.
And see, I think that speaks to everything. I mean, you've sold on Amazon before. You run the agency that helps the sellers benefit, and you see the opportunity today. So if someone were to ask, I don't know, is Amazon still worth getting in? I mean, that's a testament in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can still see the profitability there. So, and from your company standpoint,
I would turn the question around and say, it's not, is Amazon worth investing in, but do you have a brand that's worth investing in to get on Amazon? That's what I think the real question is. Amazon opportunity is there, even in spaces where it might be more niche. There are not as many sales. This opportunity is there. Do you have something worth investing in? And you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't have something worth investing in, scrap it, redo it, redraw it, map it back out again until it's the right thing to invest in. Or go to someone who's got something and say, hey, I want to invest in this brand because I believe in it. And I think it's going to do well. But, starting off with a product is an easy way to get in to learn. But if you want to stick around long term, there's a lot of reasons for that, but you really have to have a brand that's strong and that has staying power so that people, when they come back to Amazon, they're not just searching for, Bluetooth speaker. They're searching for your brand and Bluetooth speaker, or they've already bookmarked your store page or product detail pages, whatever the case might be. They know exactly where they're going. That's what ultimately leads to success there.
That's right. So in over here at CreditHub, we kind of call it build a moat around your whole idea as deep as you can, because that's what's going to stick. especially in over time, over economy changes. That's what's going to matter.
Yeah, but people are willing to spend more on brands that they love. Does anybody need a $400 jacket from Patagonia? No. But why do people spend the money? It's not just because they have the money. There are people who don't have, big lavish incomes, but they spend the money on the jacket. But why? Why are they doing that? And the answer is the simple answer is brand, but it goes beyond that. They say our products are really high quality. We're going to make sure you're happy with them. They're going to protect you in the toughest of elements, and we stand by what we say. So much so that someone brings a jacket back 25 years later and says, "Man, this jacket's really kind of worn down." Patagonia doesn't say, "Well, our policy is XYZ." They say, "Cool, let's get you a new coat, man, on us." What? What? You want to do what?
See?
You want to give away a coat, and that giveaway was probably they maybe spent $50 or $20 giving away that coat, and it was some of the best publicity they got because people were like, I mean, Costco's doing the same thing. My wife told me about how they took back a dead Christmas tree that was living before it was dead. Yeah, it was totally disheveled after Christmas, and someone said, "Man, this tree sucks. It's dead. I want a refund." And Costco gave them a refund. It's like that no questions asked kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's funny how
majority of people are not going to do that, but it's one of the best things that they could have done because it's like, man, I am more confident in spending money in this brand than ever before because there is no risk of me not winning in this situation, and that's part of what being a brand is lowering the risk of someone choosing to believe in you because if there's greater risk, they're going to spend less money. If there's less risk, they're willing to spend more money and consistently spend more money because one, they believe in your product, and two, they know that you believe in it and you're going to stand by it. Facts. So we don't shortchange
bars,
don't
man.
Shortchange yourself. Yeah. Bars for days. Yo, got the hippity hop.
I love it, man. There you go. No, man, you're killing it. You're killing it. I appreciate you, man. See, that's why I brought you on. That is exactly why I brought you on because I'm looking at some of the things. People are just having questions, and you nailed all my questions there. Oh my gosh. I wanted to talk about because we touched on it just a little bit about exiting, right? Just to jump around just a little bit, right? So I love the idea of product businesses. I love the idea of Amazon businesses. I mean, we're starting to see some of the largest exits, right? In terms of this in this environment, right? Because you can sell it as a brand, and obviously you can for multiples, right? Talk a little about your perspective on it. Have you inherited or gained a client who just acquired one? Or have they all started their own? Would you be able to speak to what percentage of people maybe acquired a business and then obviously use it as a way for passive or work with you for absentee ownership on it? Or how many grew it from the ground up?
We got started, 5+ years ago, not quite 6. And the thought of people selling their business that was utilizing Amazon, as a main channel was not really around. But one of our best clients purchased a brand from 2 brand owners that started it, and he's like, hey, I want to get involved. I want to build a brand. I want to do this e-commerce thing, and he's grown. We've gotten him profitable, but he was one of the clients that we got referred to, by an M&A firm, a mergers and acquisitions firm, who handled the sale of the business and said, hey, we'd recommend for Amazon, you need to talk to this company. And so that was an example of someone who bought a business when it wasn't really on trend. Now there are companies that are buying up businesses. They were buying them at crazy multiples, and things started to die down because supply chain issues hit, all the issues that hit every business. But these people that are called aggregators that are basically venture capital firms that are just deciding to invest in the Amazon businesses.
Right.
Or, where Amazon's the main channel, but they're going to look to expand them, to have their own Shopify store, to get them on other marketplaces, maybe eBay, maybe Walmart.com, go international, get them into retail stores. Those are all important elements. Omnichannel is definitely the way of the future for your brand to succeed. And now they started facing supply chain issues just like other brands were. And so the money started to dry up. And they're like, man, we can't, there's also a fever, that was around an excitement. And so people are like, man, well, we got to get this. We got to get this. We'll give it two to three times EBITDA, or 2 to 3 times whatever your seller discretionary earnings, however you want to look at it, profitability. Man, we'll give you 5 times. We'll give you 7x. And it started to cool down a little bit, but there also was just the aggregator space. 2 years ago, there was a couple, and one got a $1 billion valuation, and that lit a match on some gasoline. And so now there's 80 aggregators. But what's interesting is a lot of people are following suit. Now aggregators are getting purchased by other aggregators because they don't know how to sustain an Amazon business. They don't know what they're doing. And they thought, we'll get into this and we'll figure it out.
Right.
And some have been more successful than others. But it's taken, I sold on Amazon for 6 years before starting my own agency. And it still took time to build out the right processes because, we're also a third party working with this brand, but it took a long time to figure that out and really say, okay, this is the core of Amazon's ecosystem. Now there's all these extra things. What do we focus on first? And then where do we put our attention on the extra stuff? These people are coming in net new to Amazon saying, well, yeah, we know marketing, we know advertising, and we'll bring on some people who know what they're doing. There weren't enough people that really knew what they were doing. The people who really know what they're doing and are worth investing in for your aggregator, your digital marketing agency that wants an Amazon offering, or even internally at a brand, most of those people are someone like myself who is already running their own agency, someone who has been at a brand and is at a brand and building out something at a brand, and they're getting paid well. But like me, they're seeing something like, hey, I want to grow an agency. I want to, do it in the future. Or they're working for, like a big agency that's got a ton of money, and they're like, yeah, let's build an Amazon offering. But other than that, there was not a ton of people. And so there's a shortage of people, like I said earlier, that I'm looking for, that brands are looking for, that aggregators are looking for. And the sale businesses has cooled down a bit. I'm not seeing numbers or the multiples that are out right now.
Right.
But what I can tell you is there's still opportunity to sell business. But when you're like, the time that you say, I want to sell my business, to when it actually sells, we're talking about a good 12 to 24 months. It's not, hey, I want to get my business tidied up 3 months. And nope, you got to have 12 months of profitability. You have to have 24 months of growth, whatever it is that they're looking for. But you have to start getting things looking nice so they can go back and say, hey, there's a consistent pattern
right
where you will be successful. And so now we believe in investing in the business. You have 3 months, 3 good months. That doesn't mean anything.
Or seasonal at best, right? Doesn't work.
Seasonal at best, yeah. Do it again. How many times can you do 3 months? Can you do it 6 times? Can you do it 8 times? Then you've got something that's really worth investing in, and they know, okay, this is something that's sticking around. It's worth us to pay the money that we'll recoup, maybe over the next 5 years. If we can grow it like we want it, maybe we'll recoup it in the next 2 years. But a lot of the market right now has had issues with supply chain, and so that's put the return that these aggregators can get on these brands. It's drastically lowered, or I would say drastically increased the amount of time it's going to take for them to get back. And so they're starting to reconsider things.
Absolutely. And I'll just say, yeah, for me, I've been working recently with a lot of importer exporters, right? For literally supply chain, buying the product, literally taking a hold of the product, trying to get it off the boat now. So I see a lot more of that in the manufacturing world coming up pretty soon. So I think between what you're describing and what I'm seeing happening next, it should be very interesting in terms of who owns the product at the end of this, whether it's going to be the big corporation or if it's going to be, someone like you as an agency, right? Because I could see that happening at scale,
Yeah.
right? Like I said,
some agencies, that's their model is we take on your product and we sell it in our store, and that's what we do. I have a friend who that's his whole agency is they bring on the brand, they sell it, they're investing in advertising, they've got an agreement worked out. I will say this though, big businesses are starting to pay attention to Amazon, not because a really big company like maybe SC Johnson, they might have ignored Amazon or Kimberly Clark or whatever, P&Gs of the world may have, not looked at Amazon as important because, okay, it puts 50 million in my bottom line, or it adds 50 to my top line and really 10 to my bottom line. What's that to me when I'm doing billions of dollars in revenue? You know what I mean? When your P&L's that big, it's not something, is it really worth going after? What they've now realized is it's not just about revenue, it's about brand credibility, and your credibility on Amazon can affect your $1 billion in revenue in stores and in e-commerce market shop or in the e-commerce web store, whatever the case might be. So they're starting to pay attention. They're really realizing that they need to invest in that. And there's Amazon is really kind of opening the doors for them, saying, we've got all these opportunities for you to tell your brand story, something that these companies, P&G's been telling stories about brands for over 100 years. Like they are brands, they are branding, they get and understand that core. And now Amazon's saying, hey, we're allowing you more opportunities to do that. But the sellers, the people who are arguably smaller and don't have 100 years of brand building experience and capital behind them, they actually make up 54% of the sales on the entire Amazon marketplace. So there's opportunity for smaller brands is kind of what I'm saying. And small could be $10 million, but there's opportunity to get there. Majority of people are not doing $1 million a year. Most people are, I think, doing somewhere between maybe 60, probably around, I'd say average, or if you break it down into percentage of people that are doing, under $100,000, it's probably most people are doing under $100,000 is my guess based on research that I've done.
Would you say that's like one product, or would you, or is it,
that's
or if it's, I'd be curious about that because I always hear right, if you have one, you want two. If you got 5, you want 10 products.
And I would say a lot of people get caught up with, like you said, they want to start a side hustle and then they start another side hustle and they start another side hustle because like, man, I just need to start something that's going to work. And what I'd say is most people who are real serial entrepreneurs, meaning they have started a business and sold it and started a business and sold it, or started a business and now that's doing well. They focus on another business, they're growing that, now they can move on to the next one. They're not starting 3 or 4 businesses at a time. You have to focus on the one that is the most important, or focus on one concept, get that up and running efficiently so that you can say, okay, I've got people in place to make the right decisions to keep the business growing, not running, but growing and making the right calls. I can now open this app business that I want to open because I have this good idea and I can start investing money and time into this because my other business is profitable. It's same with products. If you've got one product, focus on just selling the hell out of that product and really doing well with it. And then once you've got the capital, invest in another product, a new scent, a new flavor of something, a whole new product, a new gadget, whatever the case might be. Start expanding your product line and being able to offer more to your consumer is a win, because if you've got trust with them with that one product, now you've got repeat people who are coming back. They're especially anything consumable, like personal care space, cosmetics, food, beverage. You've got people that are coming back and consuming this product. Oh, they have another flavor. Oh, they have this new product that does this. I want to try that. You've got a built-in test audience, and you can leverage that audience to help launch and grow those products.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I brought this man here. Because somebody else would have told you to try to sell 15 products and just, hey, let's figure it out and wing it. He's gonna tell
Just
you the
go
truth.
for it and pay me 10 grand a month because I'm worth it. I will say
Oh man.
this.
Hmm.
There's a lot of opportunity for brands. There's also a lot of snake oil salesmen or salespeople. I mean, I don't know, salesmen. We'll stick with the snake oil salesmen. We'll let the
Yeah, right,
guys
right.
get the bad rap on this
Be
one.
very PC, right, right.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people who know a little bit about Amazon and they know it just a little bit more than you. And I would say, beware. Know that not everyone believes, not everyone knows enough that they say they do, and interview multiple people if you're looking for someone to hire. Don't just come to me and say, unless you have a friend, that was a success story. They're referring someone to us. They're coming directly to us and they're like, we want to work with you. Okay, great. I get that. I understand that. I'm still gonna show you case studies. I'm still gonna do the things we normally do so that you can trust us. But don't just come and interview me. Go and interview several brands. Interview a big agency. Interview a freelancer. Do your due diligence and go with the person and the team that you actually trust. And maybe it might be a little more expensive than you thought, but go with the team that you trust. Don't just go with the first person that throws you the offer, because what's their intent with their business? If their business is just to take on as many clients as possible and scale and then find efficiency and go after the big dogs, you've got a very limited window and you've got less chance of being successful. So, but also if you're willing to risk that and hey, I'm kind of in this just to figure it out. And so I want to deal with the cheaper things and I'll pick up the slack, the cheaper service, and I'll pick up the slack where I can, or hire someone to handle these certain things. I just know what your risk tolerance is and go in that direction. But don't just, like LeVar Burton said, don't take my word for it. Go and ask somebody. Go and ask somebody else. Read
Right.
a damn book.
Tell them, man. For the people in the back, man.
For the people in the back, read a book, okay? but for real, ask around and say, hey, what does this person's credibility look like? If they've got reviews on Trustpilot, find ways to substantiate these people. Don't just believe the first dope that tells you something. And I encourage people. I say, go interview other people. I said there's a lot of people that provide services similar to us, so I can't lie. And there's a lot of people providing good services. I know some of the few people that I believe are providing great services, and then I would even say, you don't want to work with me, you still need to work with someone. Go work with this guy. Go work with this girl. She's going to take care of you, because they're my friends, and they're people who are also in the space. There's just so much demand that I can afford to be friends with my quote unquote competitor. And I'd rather be collaborative than competitive. So they're really more my collaborators. But, I will tell people you're going to be hard pressed to find the level of commitment that we have to seeing your brand succeed at the price point we're giving you. We're not the cheapest, but we're not the most expensive. And we do that intentionally. But we start to win as you start to win based on how we price ourselves. So we're trying to make it appetizing for you, but there has to be something in it for us to win. But don't just go with the first offer. Get a couple offers, make people pitch to you why they should work with you. Do they have case studies? If they don't, maybe that's okay with you. But just know you're going off someone's word. You have to really trust that person if you're referred.
See. Oh man, that's why I wanted to do this, right? Just get entrepreneurs together, get people together that, we're not trying to sell any product. We are literally just trying to offer guidance, offer assistance, offer perspective. You can, like I said, you can learn from any experience, good or bad. So what I wanted to do is really just bring us together, have the dialogue. I want to continue. I want to allow this to be kind of presented to our membership, and see if questions arouse and see anything we can double down on. Because
any questions anybody has, I'm happy to answer. Because one, there's no secret sauce, so there's nothing secret that I'm hiding that you couldn't do on your own. But two, I know there are always going to be people that don't want to do it themselves. They want to pay someone. And three, even if I told you exactly how I did everything, do you really have the courage and the tenacity and the time and the capital to be able to build exactly what I built? My guess is no. So I'm not worried about now if someone's, adept enough and they're like, well, how do you do this? And what about this? If they start asking a lot of questions, I might get a little suspect. Like, hey, if we were to work together, this is something that we talk about. But I'm not going to necessarily lay out the entire game plan for you. That's a way for me to judge, is this someone I even want to work with? If they're trying to get a bunch of stuff out of me for free, that's kind of a waste of my time. Now I'm just giving you stuff for free. There's no secret sauce, but I'm also, not a fool. So
100%. So how can people get in touch with you, get in touch with the company if they did want to have a review, did want to consult? How does your process work if someone wanted to engage, just so we can at least make sure everyone knows?
There's two main places. One is on LinkedIn. Look up Michael Maher, Maher, and look for the one that's got my face like that, smiling. I got kind of a funky looking shirt on in my picture, but the one that says, works at Cartology. And then also you can go to our website, thinkcartology.com. So if you need help with Amazon, think Cartology. The business is not called Think Cartology. Just the URL, people, that happens often, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. If you go to the landing page of our website, it explains very in a lot of detail what it is that we do and who we are and why the things that we say are important. And the goal really is just to get on a phone call with me. So if you've got a brand and you've got questions and maybe you're not ready to start right now, that's okay. Let's talk about it, and let's, maybe I can say, hey, do these 5 things, come back in 6 months, and let's see what happens. Like I said, we're only going to take on something that we believe in. If I don't think if it's ready, we can't afford to take on something that's not going to really be profitable for us, because we're taking them. We're going deep with brands. We're not just, trying to raise up a little bit of 100 brands. We're going deep with, 20, 25 brands. That's the goal or target for us. So yeah, just look on thinkcartology.com or find me on LinkedIn. And if you can't find me there, it might be Tuesday night and I'm out on the front porch eating shrimp and rosé. So maybe you just need to come to our front yard, and that's where you need to find me. But
one of them, right?
I'm happy to talk anytime and just answer some questions.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to obviously do some closeout stuff, and he and I are going to continue to collaborate, because some know and some may not know that startup capital is available, even if you're trying to start your own Amazon business. And we're going to continue to talk about that on our in our green room. And for those that are members, they'll get a chance to kind of see that replay after the fact. So thank you so much for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Till next time. Thanks a lot, Michael, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.